Hello and welcome back, family, to season 3 of the Teacher Surgery. I cannot believe that we are here at season 3. Thank you all so much for your continued support to get us here. There have been so many questions that have come in, and you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to waste any time. Let's jump into it and get to our first question. But firstly, welcome back, teachers. How are you? Our lovely panel of teachers, Hat, Danielle and Nasha, welcome. How you feeling, season 3?
Very good.
Excited.
Ready to go?
Well, I won't delay. Let's jump into it. So, the first questions that come in from our parent, one of our parents said, what can schools do effectively to support the increase of mental health in schools?
I think they need to reduce the pressure. Allow them more free time, social time. I think everything's become very structured around the lessons. There's not much of that free time, social time, allowing them to be themselves.
Nasha, what do you think? What's your thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have to agree with Danielle concerning reducing less pressure, because I think there are particular schools where the emphasis on, homework, at least maybe 3 or 4 times in a week, the pressure of after school classes, the pressure of exams, and also what's expected in class in terms of behaviour. I think those can be extremely difficult for a young person to navigate their way in school and in life generally. I think it's important as well for children to be able to have an outlet so that they have somewhere that they can, somebody they can talk to, somebody, especially if it's on a safeguarding team or something like that. I think counsellors, schools need to have more counsellors.
I agree with you there. I think the schools need to talk about it more.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to want to talk about it. It's only a case of let's deal with it if it comes to us. But if it was not promoted in a way, but this is where you can go for help, like you're saying, this is where you can go for support. This is a safe space for you to talk in.
Sure.
I think that would then...
I mean, I must say that the school that I'm at does actually talk a lot, especially when it's PHSE lessons. They talk a lot about mental health. They talk about awareness, self-awareness, and all the issues that relate to mental health. So I think there are some schools that are beginning to implement it. But I think it's also recognising what is mental health, and understand, making students aware of their own, mental health and where they are.
I think that's where I was. Sorry. I think that's where I was going to join in with you. I think the important thing is to remember that all mental health is important. Good or bad, mental health is mental health, and we all enjoy that, whoever we are. Practically, the schools can do a lot.
Sure.
But you have to layer your approach. So you can have the universal approach that deals with it on a PSHE level, embeds it with a teacher, and embeds it in the culture of the school. The next strata of that might look at the curriculum map and say, okay, we're going to look at different stages, maybe peer pressure, maybe adolescence, maybe gangs and grooming and friendship, to look at that kind of mental health pressure. On the third level, you might adopt whole school approaches that talk about zones of regulations and emotion coaching. So you're embedding that into the culture of the young people in the school. And once you've gone through all of those processes as a school, you're then going to have your kind of subdivision of young people that you've identified now, and you may be linking them with outside sources like Mind, CAMS, and Freud. And then again within that, you'll have a third strata who will maybe need more clinical therapeutic services.
Sure.
So again, there is a program and there is a process that you can go through, but it is important that the school, as you guys have said, embed it and follow that triage.
Going back a step on that though, I think teachers need more training on how to identify mental health.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
How do you know, what changes do you look for in the learner to be able to say there's concerns here? Because some people do hide it well, and I think it starts with the root of the teachers being further trained on mental health, because then your layers that come in go down from the teachers being trained.
I do believe that you're right. It's absolutely just as important for staff to be aware of their own mental health and how that can
Yeah, I
affect
think
them.
that's what I was going to say. With some staff, again, then
Absolutely.
they're bordering on quite a few anxiety, depression, etc.
Which again is
relating
natural.
to work,
Yeah.
and they could be
Work
caught up
pressure,
in their own sort of work pressure and not recognise that actually it's not about me as per se, but my mental health needs to be right. But I
For
need
me to come into that
to
that
come into
learning
that.
space
Yeah.
to teach a
And
young
it's okay
person.
to recognise that it's not. That's
Yeah.
okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are all able to we should all be able to recognise when we're not in the right mental space. And that's the quality that we're trying to teach to our young people. So why shouldn't we recognise it in ourselves?
Yeah. Can I just play devil advocate on something that Danielle said? I know that you said teachers should need more training. But then if I'm a teacher at home and I'm saying I've got a lot on to do, right? I've got all this other work, the learning. I've got to make sure, I get the kids to this level.
Yeah.
Now I've got
Yeah,
the
but then I would
identifier for
turn
mental
around
health.
and come back to that and say every school should have training time for their teachers.
Sure.
So why would you not do it in that training time that is allocated to them?
Okay.
Yeah, CPD training.
Yeah, so it's actually part of, I know where I work, a Wednesday afternoon is CPD training every other week and team meetings the week after. So you have the slot you can do it in, it's just incorporating it into that.
But I think realistically, I have to say that, I mean, we all know as educators that, there's always, it feels like there's never enough time in the day. And you can get overwhelmed with class back to back. Sometimes some teachers have a timetable. As soon as they get in the morning, they've got a lesson straight all the way until the end of the lesson, end of the day.
Sure.
And so that can be, even though you could say, yes, you go for CPD training, but you can still feel a lot of pressure, dealing firstly, like I said, with yourself, but then also identifying with students who've got mental health.
Oh no, I
The
do
balance
agree with you.
is-
It's finding the balance, but I
Yeah.
think, from my point, I would rather help learner A overcome their mental health than that day then mark the paper of learner B, because it's the implications of behind what could happen if I didn't step in and help.
Sure.
Which is fantastic, but when you're in a school which is driven by results, and we haven't got time for this kid who's having a fit right now, or is suicidal, or is going through, that can be again another challenge.
I agree, and I
itself.
think that's where Hakeem's point come in of having the layers there.
Yeah.
So there is additional support there, but it's identifying it, sending them to the right place,
Yeah.
and making sure they get that help.
Yeah.
And can I ask, is there provision at school? So if the teacher did identify that learner A, for instance, was demonstrating or showing some behaviours that were concerning, is there some support that the teacher could refer the young person to at school? So go...
I work in a college, so yes, it's a bit different. We have an on-site counsellor for them that they can go to. We have a safeguarding team that they can go to, and we have general student support where they can go to. So we would refer them down to what we call student services.
Sure.
But Hakeem, you do that, don't you? Isn't it
Well, again, it depends on your school and the processes that they've put in place.
Sure.
In a mainstream school, it's a lot more difficult in terms of the numbers of children we're dealing with. But we do have specialist schools that deal with SEN, SEMH pupils, where the processes are a lot more detailed and streamlined.
And they have more support in those schools,
100%.
okay.
So, for example, a school may have on site a counsellor and therapeutic work that's working with the pupils on an intervention based purpose. So, again, it depends on the school and it depends on the practices that they promote.
Sure.
But there are processes, and most good schools will follow them.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, guys. I think that was a well-rounded answer. I hope that I was the advocate for the teachers at home. But yeah, thank you. And I always say to everyone, we're learning together. This is a place where a safe space, like in school, that we can ask real questions and get some real answers from professionals. So, Nyasha, we have had a question that's come in for you.
Oh my.
So, and you lot feel free to jump in, it's not exclusive. Okay. But someone wants to know, Nyasha, as a teacher, do you feel valued in society?
Wow, that's a good question.
It is a good question.
So yes, I look at on one hand, I do, and on the other, I sometimes feel maybe not so. So I think, there's nothing more beautiful when you see a student, it's a former student who comes up to you, 5 years down the line or something and says, "Oh, miss, I'm at uni or I'm doing this because you imparted, knowledge of my life, or you're a great teacher, or I got on well with you, etc." So I think that's really beautiful when you have those experiences of students coming and really appreciating you. You feel kind of like, yeah, all right, I'm on the right path. I'm doing something. I'm making an impact into a young person's life.
Making a difference,
yeah,
right?
making a difference. But then again, on the other side of it could be, I think, sometimes people don't actually understand what we go through as teachers. So the first thing everyone always says when you're a teacher is, you guys have got 6 weeks holiday, right?
Finish at 3 o'clock.
Finish at 3 o'clock. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, your life is easy. And we're like, no, it doesn't actually finish at 3 o'clock. And half of the 6 weeks holiday, if you haven't booked somewhere, because again, you can't even book somewhere because normally it's extremely expensive during that time. But if you haven't, you're still doing some form of work related to school. So I think
Do teachers go into school in the 6 weeks holiday? Like, do you have staff
yes.
Like, okay.
Some do.
For a college, that's when you're enrolling. So that
Okay.
is, your business is still open all summer.
Okay.
So I think in a college, the only time it actually shuts down is 2 weeks at Christmas.
Yeah. So I mean, again, people then think, oh, what do teachers do? Well, we do so much apart from being a parent to these kids, apart from being big brother, big sister, uncle, auntie, educator, professor, counsellor, all of the various things. That's what and we don't get paid for each of those things. We're just paid for being an educator. So I think, we're not always valued. And sometimes, especially with the government, I think the government, some of the policies that have been put in place, or the way they kind of talk about educational teachers is as if we're not doing enough. And yet we are. A lot of teachers are actually leaving the profession after 5 years. Some teachers have actually suffered mental breakdowns as a result of the pressures of being in school, and the workload. And I think that's, most of us just want to get in the classroom and teach.
Can I say on the flip side? I know it's Nesh's question, but I mean, I just want to jump in a little bit.
Don't take the limelight.
I find that hard not to do. I'm just gonna say that I would say that most of our teachers, our educators, don't go into it for that recognition. You're absolutely right. We educators are not recognised for the values that they bring to society in general across the world, but it is. And something I've found throughout my career, it is refreshing to meet people that go in to help young people because that's what they want to do, for a vocational purpose, And I think that they should be lauded for that. We ain't, and I get that, but I think as amongst ourselves, it's something I look at myself and I feel good about myself because I lend my emotions and I'm altruistic in my feeling towards our young people in trying to give them a better life. And that's something I think educators do. And we should pat ourselves on the back. Don't watch them. Don't worry about that.
I think sometimes as well with that is it also depends on the level of you as a teacher or an educator, because some people, they just want a job. They're a failed actress. Or they failed, something else. So
it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Let me be a teacher.
I'm not going to be in that rock band or boy band, so it's not going to happen. So then they just go into education. But what I would say, just lastly, is, there are some teachers that just go above and beyond, and we're talking of not just in school, but even outside of school. They're just ready to go above and beyond, and I think that's where you can sort of say, okay, these teachers actually care, and as a result, yes, then you feel as well when then they feel valued, the kids feel valued as well. I think it sort of works that way as well.
Danielle, any final points on that?
No, I think these two summed it up really well. I think every teacher would say they definitely don't do it for the money.
It's a vocation. And can I just finally just say on this, like, I think the biggest difference, I think, maybe not in school so much, but definitely in college, a lady called Erica was the first time I felt valued and seen. I put an essay in and it was like, it had some grammar mistakes, but she was like, this is amazing still. And it was the first time like I felt a little bit valued. And I think, you know, Nasha, you said about, you know, like sometimes people come up to you and go, oh, miss, do you remember this? Do you remember? And it's years later you go, actually, that's the impact you guys had on my life. That teacher had on my life as well. And I just like to say, like, I was looking through some emails ages, like a few weeks ago, and I looked at my 2 college lecturers who sadly passed away, Kim Fitzhugh and Ken Montague. And I was completely devastated. And I looked at her last email saying, Kelly, keep in touch. And I've done this. It's great to see you. And I was devastated that I didn't even get that opportunity to thank her, to say, just like, even like, not even what she taught me in the class, in that space, but actually what she taught me about being a woman, you know. And it's not a black woman, it was a white lady, but she was like really open with sharing her life experiences. So on behalf of everyone, all the young people that never get or learners, regardless if you're young or old, who never get the chance to say thank you to their teachers, thank you. So I just wanted to say that to you a lot. And thank you for the questions. So thank you, everyone. So just to say, before we wrap up, we're learning together. We're having real and relatable questions that are there to help you and support you. So thank you for tuning in. As I always say to you at the end of every episode, like, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll see you in the next episode. Okay.